Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with a review of a Thai action horror war film from 1983 titled Cannibal Mercenary, also known as The Mercenary, Jungle Killers, and it was edited into another Vietnam War film called The Jaguar Project. So it's got a little bit of an interesting history. So this film is about a Thai Vietnam veteran whose daughter's dying from polio, and he agrees to go into the jungle and take out a drug lord who has an army of cannibals in order to get the money to save his daughter. That's depressing, but a one man army killing machine going to face off against a drug lord and an army of cannibals sounds like a great time when it comes to low budget exploitation. So, it literally starts with our main character having a flashback, having a flashback, and then he does some John Wick kind of shit, and he runs into this colonel who offers him the job to save this girl from the jungle, and in return he'll receive, in the English dub of it I watched, he was going to receive like $7,000, and that's about it. And apparently in other dubs it's like $500,000, but I don't know. So, which is probably enough to help his daughter. So, he goes to his hotel room, has another flashback, and you realize that these hotel room scenes, which there are only a couple of at the beginning of the film, are very similar to the hotel scenes in the opening of Apocalypse Now. You also notice this being about a guy who fought in Nam going back into the jungles of Nam to take out this guy who has essentially made himself the leader of a tribe of local natives. In this case, it's a tribe of local cannibals. You realize, once you realize this, you take a step back and you think, wow, this is the low-budget horror equivalent of Apocalypse Now. So for starters, the English dub in this film is very bad. Not the worst I've ever heard. I've heard way worse English dubs. But this one's pretty bad, although I think it does add to the film's kind of cheesy, entertainingly bad kind of charm it has. Same goes for the writing. The writing isn't really that good. Really, everything in this movie is of bad quality, other than some of the camera work and some of the technical aspects and the gore in the film. The gore in the film is very well done, and it's probably one of the more memorable aspects of the film. That, in combination with the absolute bonkers plot and the bad dubbing, makes this film very enjoyable as a bad movie. I can't think of another, Vietnam War film that combines Herschel Gordon Lewis kind of cheap gore and a plot that's ripped straight from Apocalypse Now. And on the VHS release of this movie, it literally states it makes Platoon look like a family picnic because it's so realistic. Yeah, that's the kind of hype that this film had behind it. Needless to say, only a VHS composite version exists, and it's pretty bad quality. Now, the movie has this problem that happens only about twice, but it's something that I kind of thought was funny, where suddenly action will start happening, and you sit there and you wonder, is this a Vietnam flashback? Is this guy having a Nam flashback, or is this actually happening? This only happens twice, but I think it's really funny that the movie doesn't let you know whether or not it's a Nam flashback really until a certain point in the scene. So I think it kind of adds to the hilarious ineptness and the kind of strange confusion that the film has, surrounding it. The film is quite the gem of a bad movie, honestly, and it's surprisingly entertaining while it doesn't completely live up to the title or the plot. Because the drug lord and the cannibals don't show up until there's 30 minutes left of the movie, and that's after you've already sat through a solid 70 minutes of the movie. So, but don't get me wrong, it's entertaining, and it stays pretty interesting except for around the middle Like halfway through the film, it gets a little bit boring, which is a shame, but that happens. Thankfully, it picks up pretty quickly, so that kind of saves it. Also, this film steals music from Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead. At least I'm pretty sure it was music from City of the Living Dead. I watched City of the Living Dead last week, and I swear I heard that same music in City of the Living Dead. I know for a fact it steals music from Dawn of the Dead, so I might be confusing the soundtracks for those films, and they might just steal music from Dawn of the Dead. Either way, this film steals music from Goblin, and maybe even a Lucio Fulci film. Can't be too sure of that, but I thought that was kind of funny. And the thing is, the music is used like only about 7 times in the entire movie, and it's 2 different tracks from the soundtracks, but it's used like 7 different times. But every single time, it's just out of place and doesn't work. It has this gothic, creepy horror tone during a scene where people are being tortured by cannibals. It doesn't really fit very well. Although I will admit, kind of funny. So, also, in this film, the fucking Viet Cong wear, like, bright blue shirts and shorts and racist conical hats. Like, every single character that they run into who happens to be Viet Cong happens to be wearing a conical hat and all blue for some reason, and it just adds to the bizarre, cheesy, unintentionally hilarious nature of the film. The movie has almost got this Ed Wood-like quality with some of its continuity errors that it has. There's some pretty big continuity errors where there's a fight scene towards the end of the film where it may have just been the fact that this composite of it that I watched was from multiple different tape masters, but it goes from being like sunset to midday, then back to like sunset. It's interesting. On the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 being something like Nosferatu, 10 being something like Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, Cannibal Mercenary sits at probably a 4.5. It's not too gory, but there's some pretty gruesome scenes and some decently bloody scenes towards the beginning, and there's some scenes scattered throughout the middle, and towards the end where it gets to the cannibals and the drug lord, that's where the gore starts to get a bit more excessive. It's honestly really sad that this movie hasn't been picked up by a company like Arrow Video, or even a company like Massacre Video, because this movie, I would love to see like a nice transfer of this film, or at least, like, it would be really cool if Arrow Video were to put this out on Blu-ray with a nice HD widescreen transfer. It's exploitation trash cinema gold, and the fact that it doesn't have much of a following or even a decent release is a shame, because I'd never heard of this film before until I stumbled upon it while just like looking at cannibal films, and this is no Cannibal Holocaust. I do think it's better than Cannibal Ferox, honestly, but then again, I'm not that big of a fan of Ferox, to be honest. But like, I had never heard of this film before, and I just randomly stumble upon it, and I find this gold piece of trash bad movie fun. It's cheesy, it's stupid, it's bad, but it's so entertaining, and there's stuff in there that's legitimately enjoyable. And I'm surprised that this movie doesn't have a decent-sized cult following, because I think it deserves one. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 3.5 out of 5, because I thought this was really fun, and I would highly recommend this to anybody who likes bad movies, and I would also recommend it to anybody who is who's just looking for a bad movie to put on and watch with some friends, maybe crack open a couple beers, or whatever you prefer to drink, and just have a good time, because this is definitely like a nice addition to a bad movie night, I would say. Anyway, guys, this is Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews, signing off. Peace.